I still see his eyes when I close mine. Flat, empty, like something wearing a human face. I bartended for almost 7 years. Started when I was 22, fresh out of college with a useless degree and a mountain of debt. Ended when I was 29. Not because I found something better, because of what happened at Rosie's. Rosie's was a dive bar in Sandusky, Ohio. Nothing special. Sticky floors, neon signs, a jukebox that only played country music from the 80s. The kind of place where regulars came to drink away their problems and strangers came to hide from theirs. I worked the late shift, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., 4 nights a week. Mostly it was fine. Quiet crowd, blue-collar guys, a few college kids on weekends. The tips weren't great, but the work was easy. Pour drinks, make small talk, pretend to laugh at bad jokes. I got comfortable. That was my first mistake. It was a Tuesday in November, cold outside, barely anyone in the bar. Just me, 2 regulars playing pool in the back, and this one guy sitting alone at the far end of the counter. I didn't recognize him. That wasn't unusual. We got drifters sometimes, truckers passing through, people who wanted to drink somewhere no one knew their name. But something about this guy felt off. He was maybe 40, 45, average height, average build, brown jacket, baseball cap pulled low, nothing memorable about him at all except his eyes. When I walked over to take his order, he looked up at me, and I felt this chill run down my spine. His eyes were completely flat, no warmth, no emotion, nothing behind them at all, like looking at a shark. He ordered a whiskey. Neat. I poured it, set it down in front of him. He didn't say thank you, didn't nod, didn't acknowledge me at all, just wrapped his fingers around the glass and stared straight ahead. I went back to polishing glasses at my end of the bar, tried not to look at him, but I could feel him there, like a weight in the room. An hour passed. The 2 regulars finished their game and headed out, said goodnight to me on their way. That left just me and the stranger. I wanted to ask him to leave. We weren't technically closed yet, but I had a bad feeling. The kind of feeling you learn to trust when you work nights. But I didn't say anything. I just kept cleaning, kept my head down, hoped he'd finish his drink and go. Around midnight he finally spoke. "You ever done something you can't take back?" His voice was quiet, hoarse, like he hadn't used it in days. I looked up. He wasn't looking at me, still staring straight ahead. "I'm sorry?" I said. "Something bad," he continued. "Something that changes everything, that makes you into someone else." I've had a lot of drunk confessions in my time. Guys crying about their ex-wives, women admitting they hated their kids, all sorts of dark stuff that people only say when they've had too much. But this felt different. This didn't feel like a confession. It felt like a warning. "I think everyone's done things they regret," I said carefully. He laughed, short, bitter, hollow. "Regret," he repeated. "Yeah, that's a word for it." He drained his whiskey in one gulp. Then he reached into his jacket pocket. My whole body went cold. I was sure he was going to pull out a gun. I was sure I was going to die right there behind that bar. But instead, he pulled out a photograph. He placed it on the counter, slid it toward me. "You seen her?" he asked. It was a picture of a woman, young, maybe early 20s, brown hair, bright smile. She looked happy in the photo, full of life. "No," I said. "I haven't." "Is she missing?" He didn't answer, just stared at the photograph for a long moment. Then he picked it up, put it back in his pocket and stood. "How much do I owe you?" "Just the one whiskey, $4. He placed a 20 on the bar. "Keep the change," he said. Then he walked out. I locked the door behind him. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely turn the deadbolt. I don't know why he scared me so much. He didn't threaten me, didn't do anything overtly wrong. But something about him, about those empty eyes and that photograph, made me feel like I'd just brushed up against something evil. I closed up fast that night. Didn't bother with the full cleaning routine. Just locked the register, grabbed my coat, and got out of there. The whole drive home, I kept checking my rearview mirror, half expecting to see his car following me. But there was nothing. Just empty roads and darkness. 2 days later, I found out who the woman in the photograph was. Her name was Emily Roth, 23 years old. She'd been reported missing from Toledo 6 days earlier. They found her body in a field outside Sandusky, 12 miles from Rosie's bar. She'd been strangled. The man in the brown jacket was never identified. Police released a sketch based on my description. It was on the news for a few weeks. Then the story faded away. The case went cold. I quit bartending after that. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't stand behind a counter and watch strangers walk in without wondering what they'd done, what they were capable of. I still think about him sometimes, that flat, empty stare. The way he asked if I'd seen her, like he already knew the answer. Like he just wanted to see me look at her face. They never caught him. For all I know, he's still out there, still drifting from town to town, still showing that photograph to bartenders in dive bars. And I wonder how many other women are in his pocket now. How many other photographs, how many other faces I'll never see. I signed an NDA that night. Not for the club, for my life. I spent 3 years bartending at a nightclub in Miami. Not one of the mainstream places on Ocean Drive. This was a private club, members only. The kind of place where celebrities and athletes and billionaires came to party away from the cameras. I'm not going to name it. Even now, years later, I'm scared of what might happen if I do. Let's just say the membership fees started at $50,000 a year, and that was just to get through the door. I worked the VIP section. That meant serving bottles to private tables, Grey Goose, Dom Perignon, stuff that cost more than my monthly rent. The tips were insane. Some nights I'd walk out with $2,000–3,000 in cash. It was the best job I ever had. Until it became the worst. The thing about rich people is they think they're untouchable. And in a lot of ways, they are. I saw things in that club that would end careers if they ever got out. Politicians doing lines off bathroom counters. Married men with women who definitely weren't their wives. Deals being made that moved millions of dollars. You learned quickly to keep your mouth shut and your eyes forward. See nothing, hear nothing, say nothing. That was the job. One night, we had a private event. The entire club was rented out by one group. I didn't know who they were at first. Just that they had money, serious money. There were maybe 30 of them, all men, all in expensive suits. A few of them had accents. Russian, I think. Eastern European, but most of them were American. The night started normal. Bottles, music, the usual. But around 1 a.m. something changed. A few of the men disappeared into a back room, the one we called the Platinum Suite. It was reserved for the highest tier members. I'd never been inside. None of the staff had. About an hour later, my manager pulled me aside. "They're requesting bottle service in the Platinum Suite," he said. "You're the only one still on shift." I started to say that I didn't have clearance. He cut me off. "Tonight you do." His voice was strange, tight, like he was trying very hard not to sound scared. "Just bring the bottles, set them down, and leave. Don't look around. Don't say anything. Understand?" I nodded, but my stomach was already churning. I loaded a cart with 6 bottles of crystal, wheeled it to the back of the club, stopped outside a door I'd never been through. I stood there for a moment, my hand hovering over the wood. Something told me not to knock. Something told me to walk away. I knocked twice. Someone opened it from the inside. I pushed the cart through. The room was dim, red lighting, leather furniture, maybe a dozen men sitting in a semicircle, all of them watching something in the center of the room. There was a chair there, and someone was sitting in it. I didn't get a good look. I didn't want to, but I saw enough to know that whoever was in that chair wasn't there by choice. The rope around their wrists, the tape over their mouth, the blood on the floor, so much blood. One of the men turned to look at me. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew I'd just seen something I shouldn't have. Someone who was deciding, right there in that moment, whether I was going to be a problem. "Just leave the bottles," he said. His voice was calm, polite even, like we were discussing the weather, like there wasn't a person bleeding 5 feet away from him. I set the bottles on a table near the door. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped one. "Don't run. Running would be worse." I turned and walked out, slowly, 1 foot in front of the other. The moment I got back to the main floor, I told my manager I was sick. He didn't question it, didn't even look surprised. Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't. Either way, I clocked out and left. I never went back. Called in the next day and quit over the phone. My manager didn't argue, just said he understood. Said my final paycheck would be mailed. It arrived a week later, with an extra $5,000 in cash. No note, no explanation, just the money. Hush money. I kept it. I'm not proud of that, but I kept it. I thought about going to the police. Thought about it a lot. But what would I say? I saw something in a private room at a club I wasn't supposed to be in. I didn't see faces clearly. Didn't see what happened next, just a chair and some blood and a room full of men in expensive suits. They would have laughed me out of the station. Or worse. Men like that don't go to jail. Men like that own the jails. A few months later, I saw one of them on TV. I recognized him immediately. Same face, same smile. He was testifying before Congress. Something about banking regulations. Everybody called him a hero, a champion of the people. I just remembered that room, the red light, the chair, the blood pooling on marble floors. I served them champagne that night. They paid me to forget, but I never did. And somewhere out there, they're still watching, still smiling, still untouchable. I grew up on the border. I thought I knew how danger works. I didn't. El Paso, Texas, right on the line. You could see Juarez from my bedroom window. 2 cities, 2 countries, one continuous sprawl of concrete and dust. People think the border is a line. It's not. It's a blur. And the things that happen in that blur don't always make it into the news. When I was 19, I got a job at a bar called The Cactus. It wasn't much to look at. Cinder block walls, tin roof, a parking lot full of trucks with Texas plates and trucks with Chihuahua plates parked side by side. But it did good business. The kind of business that paid in cash and didn't ask questions. I knew what the place was. Everyone did. You don't grow up on the border without learning to recognize certain things. The way certain men carry themselves, the cars they drive, the respect they're given even when they've done nothing to earn it. The Cactus was neutral ground, a place where deals were made and debts were settled. As long as you poured the drinks and kept your mouth shut, you'd be fine. That's what they told me. For 2 years, I believed it. I worked 6 nights a week, poured tequila for men with gold chains and snakeskin boots, served Coronas to guys with prison tattoos crawling up their necks, never asked names, never made eye contact longer than I had to. Just did my job and collected my pay. It wasn't much, but it was enough to help my mom with rent. Enough to put my little sister through community college. I told myself the money was clean because my hands were. That's the lie you tell yourself when you're in too deep to get out. Then one night everything changed. It was a Thursday. Slow night. Maybe 10, 12 people in the whole place. I was behind the bar, restocking bottles, when 3 SUVs pulled into the lot. Black, tinted windows, no plates. The whole bar went quiet. Not silent, just quiet. The kind of quiet where everyone suddenly finds their drinks very interesting. 7 men walked in, all of them armed, not hiding it, not showing it off, just armed, like it was as natural as wearing shoes. The man in front was different from the others. Older, maybe 50. Grey hair, expensive watch. He had this presence about him, the kind of presence that made the air feel thinner. He walked straight to the bar, sat down on a stool directly across from me. His men spread out around the room. Nobody else moved. "Whiskey," he said. "The good stuff." I poured him a glass of our best bourbon. He took a sip, nodded. "You're new," he said. "I don't recognize you." "Been here 2 years, sir." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. 2 years, and you're still breathing. That's good. That means you're smart. He didn't say anything else for a while, just sat there, drinking, watching the room. I pretended to clean glasses. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. About 20 minutes later, another car pulled up, just one this time. A Mercedes. A man got out. He was younger than the guy at the bar, better dressed, but there was something wrong with the way he walked, stiff, jerky, like a puppet on strings. When he came through the door, I saw why. There was a man behind him, holding a gun to his back. The older man at the bar didn't react, just finished his whiskey and set the glass down gently. "Marco," he said. "Glad you could make it." Marco was shaking, sweating through his expensive shirt. "Please," he said, "I can explain, I can fix this. You stole from me, Marco. $500,000. There's nothing to explain. I'll pay it back, every cent, I swear to God. God isn't here tonight, Marco. Just me. I don't want to describe what happened next. I can't. Some things shouldn't be put into words. But I'll tell you this. It was slow. And it was loud. And when it was over, there was a lot of mopping to do. The older man walked back to the bar afterward, calm as anything, like he'd just finished a business meeting. He placed $500 bills on the counter. "For the cleanup," he said, "and your discretion." I didn't touch the money. He smiled again. "Smart," he said. "I like that." Then he left. I finished my shift that night. Don't ask me how. I just did. When I got home, I packed a bag, took everything I'd saved, woke up my mom and my sister, told them we were leaving. By sunrise, we were in Albuquerque. By the end of the week, we were in Denver. We never went back. I hear the cactus burned down a few years later. Electrical fire, they said. I know better. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd talked, if I'd gone to the police and told them what I saw. I know the answer, of course. I'd be dead. And so would everyone I love. That's the thing about the border. It's not just a line between countries. It's a line between worlds, and once you've crossed it, you can never really go back. Thomas Webb smiled at the wrong man. 48 hours later, he disappeared. On the evening of March 14, 1992, a bartender named Thomas Webb finished his shift at a sports bar in Portland, Oregon. He'd worked there for 3 years, knew the regulars by name, knew their orders before they sat down. By all accounts, Tom was a friendly guy, easy to talk to, the kind of bartender who remembered your birthday and asked about your kids. He had no enemies, no criminal record, no debts, no reason for anyone to hurt him. Tom clocked out at 11 p.m., said goodnight to the night manager, walked to his car in the parking lot behind the bar, and was never seen alive again. His body was discovered 3 days later, dumped in a wooded area outside the city. He'd been beaten, stabbed 17 times. His wallet was still in his pocket. His watch was still on his wrist. The police were baffled. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't random. Someone had targeted Tom Webb specifically, and they'd wanted him to suffer. The investigation stretched on for months. Detectives interviewed hundreds of people, co-workers, customers, ex-girlfriends. Everyone had the same thing to say. Tom was a good guy. Everyone liked him. No one could think of a single person who'd want him dead. Then, almost a year later, a woman named Sandra Hayes walked into the Portland Police Department. She said she had information about the Tom Webb murder, information she'd been too scared to share until now. Sandra was a regular at the bar where Tom worked. She'd been there the night he disappeared, and she'd seen something. According to Sandra, a man had come into the bar that night, a man she'd never seen before. He sat at the counter for hours, barely drinking, just watching Tom. At one point, Sandra said, she went to the bathroom. The stranger followed her, blocked her path in the hallway, asked her questions about Tom. What time did he get off? Did he have a girlfriend? Where did he park? Sandra was scared. She answered his questions. Then she went back to her seat and tried to pretend nothing had happened. She didn't tell anyone. Not that night. Not when the police came asking questions. She was too afraid. But the guilt had eaten at her for almost a year. She couldn't stay silent anymore. Sandra worked with a police sketch artist. The composite image was released to the public. Within 48 hours, they had a name. Richard Dean Patton, 41 years old, no fixed address, a drifter with a history of violent crime in 3 different states. When police searched his last known residence, a rented room in Sacramento, they found a notebook. Inside were details about 6 different people, names, workplaces, schedules, home addresses. Tom Webb was one of them. 5 others were listed. 2 of them were already dead. Unsolved murders in Nevada and Arizona. Richard Patton was arrested on April 2, 1993. He confessed to killing Tom Webb. He also confessed to the 2 other murders. When asked why he'd targeted these specific people, Patton's answer was chilling. "They were nice to me," he said. "I hate people who are nice. It's fake. It's all fake. I wanted to see what was underneath." Thomas Webb was nice to everyone. He smiled at strangers, remembered names, made people feel welcome. And one night, his kindness attracted the attention of a monster. Patton was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. He received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He died in prison in 2017. The bar where Tom worked closed down a few years after his death. The owners said it just didn't feel the same without him. His mother established a scholarship in his name. Every year, it helps young hospitality students pay for their education. Tom Webb was 34 years old when he died. He spent his last moments in a parking lot, alone, facing something he couldn't understand. His only crime was being kind. His only mistake was smiling at a stranger. And somewhere out there, another bartender is pouring a drink right now, smiling at someone they've never seen before, not knowing if they'll make it home tonight. Jennifer Servo had been in Lubbock for 4 months. She never made it to 5. Jennifer was 22 years old when she moved to Lubbock, Texas. She'd just graduated from the University of Georgia with a degree in broadcast journalism. Her dream was to become a news anchor, and Lubbock's KCBD-TV had offered her first real job in the industry. It was a small market, entry level, but Jennifer was excited. She was finally on her way. To support herself while she built her career, Jennifer took a part-time job bartending at a local restaurant. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and Jennifer was good at it. She had a natural warmth that made customers feel at ease. People remembered her smile. On the night of September 16, 2002, Jennifer worked a closing shift at the restaurant. She clocked out around midnight, walked to her apartment a few blocks away, and sometime in the early hours of September 17th, someone entered that apartment and killed her. Her body was discovered later that day by a co-worker who'd come to check on her. Jennifer had been the victim of a violent assault. She'd been strangled. Her apartment showed signs of a violent struggle. The Lubbock Police Department launched an immediate investigation, but from the start, the case was plagued by complications. There were no witnesses, no clear forensic evidence, no obvious suspects. Jennifer had been in Lubbock for less than 4 months. She barely knew anyone in town. Who would want to hurt her? Investigators focused on several persons of interest. A co-worker at the restaurant who'd shown an unusual interest in Jennifer, an ex-boyfriend from Georgia who couldn't account for his whereabouts that night, a neighbor who'd been seen arguing with Jennifer days before her death. All of them were questioned extensively. All of them were eventually cleared. The case went cold. Months turned into years. Jennifer's family pleaded for information. They offered rewards, hired private investigators, appeared on national television programs. Nothing worked. In 2010, 8 years after Jennifer's murder, the Lubbock Police Department announced they were reopening the case. New forensic techniques had become available. Evidence that had been useless in 2002 might finally yield results. DNA testing was performed on material collected from the crime scene. The results were compared against national databases. They got a hit. The DNA belonged to a man named Christopher Brashear. In 2002, he'd lived in the same apartment complex as Jennifer Servo. Brashear had a criminal record: assault, burglary, drug offenses. He'd been questioned during the original investigation, but without forensic evidence, police had been forced to release him. Now they had what they needed. Christopher Brashear was arrested on September 17, 2020, exactly 18 years after Jennifer's murder. He was charged with capital murder, sexual assault, and burglary, with intent to commit a felony. The trial took place in 2022. Prosecutors presented DNA evidence linking Brashear to the crime scene. They presented testimony from witnesses who'd seen him near Jennifer's apartment that night. They presented a pattern of predatory behavior that stretched back decades. The defense argued contamination, argued coincidence, argued reasonable doubt. The jury didn't buy it. On November 18, 2022, Christopher Brashear was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In the courtroom, Jennifer's mother wept. "My daughter finally has justice," she said. "After 20 years, she finally has justice." Jennifer Servo would have been 42 years old today. She might have been a news anchor, a journalist, a storyteller. Instead, she's remembered as a victim, a young woman whose life was stolen before it really began, but she's also remembered for her smile, her warmth, the way she made people feel welcome, the bartender who was just trying to pay her bills, the girl who was just trying to chase her dreams, the one who deserved so much more than what she got.